Yes, welcome back, everyone. It's time for a conversation about how marginalized and especially undocumented persons experience the digital financial system. Because financial exclusion is one of the main issues people in the periphery or without documentation run into. Here to support and Interledger work directly with people from those groups or by supporting organizations who collaborate with these communities in order to find solutions and bring them financial empowerment. Lawil Karama, a program officer at Interledger, will moderate this very relevant conversation, so please give it up for Lawil.
Thank you. So again, welcome everyone. I am the program officer of the Interledger Foundation. I'm not very sure if everybody knows what the Interledger Foundation is, but we are the steward of the Interledger protocol. We actually believe that sending payments should be as easy as sending an email, and we do that actually through the protocol. And the protocol is actually, or can be, a network of interoperable systems that are connected based on equality and on inclusion. Today we are here to support Savannah Kolen, and Mo Bouw is also a member of Here to Support, and Amsterdam City Right to discuss financial inclusion in the Netherlands or in Europe for undocumented persons. So since I've introduced myself, I actually wanted to ask Savannah to introduce herself and also what she does as a member of Here to Support.
So my name is Savannah Kolen, and thank you, Lawil, for introducing me and Mo. I'm the co-director of Here to Support. We were founded 10 years ago. We support undocumented migrants in the city of Amsterdam in many different ways and forms. We always do it in close connection with undocumented migrants, and we set up projects that amplify their voices and make them more visible and more resilient, and we try to connect them to policy making, because I think it's important that policy that is about undocumented people is created with undocumented people at the table, and this is our daily core business. Connecting to institutions, connecting to organizations in the city of Amsterdam. Also European-wide, we have a European network, and also create platforms where people can speak out.
This is also, of course, where you met Mohammed.
That's true. We met actually on the first day of COVID.
Oh, wow.
At a moment in time where we were not able to create platforms at all.
I was on the streets, I was homeless, and no support groups, having just been a few days in Amsterdam. That's how I met the Here to Support, who started a day shelter, and upon me getting a place in the city-supported shelter, I came back and said, hey, I'm a man with energy, and I think I'm a bit smart, I want to help, and here we are.
So, can you go ahead, please?
Guys, I'm shy, huh? I'm sweating from inside right now. No pressure.
But you're also the founder of the Amsterdam City Rights app.
Yes, I am the co-founder of the Amsterdam City Right app, which is an informative app that provides information for undocumented people in Amsterdam. This came as a result of me coming to Amsterdam and not knowing where to go. Once there was enough stability, we came up with the idea and came to Savannah again. Like, Savannah, yo, what do you think about this? And luckily, the Here to Support, in my opinion, is the best organization that helps undocumented people in the city, because they don't want to be at the forefront of being a solution to the problems of migrants. They give you what you need and guide you through it. And this is how we were able to create the app, and it is one of the most used apps by migrants in Amsterdam right now in terms of information, because everything is there. It is our kind of own little world where we can just be among ourselves with people that are in solidarity with us and that wants to help.
Because when I looked at the app, what I realized is actually all of the information pieces are based on actually basic human rights or access to basic human rights.
Yeah.
And that's also why we're kind of going to deviate a little bit from this conversation, because we wanted to talk about what an undocumented person is. Because while we were prepping, we realized that some people have different definitions. So my actually question for the audience is, what is an undocumented person for you? In the context of Europe and the Netherlands? Because we have to specify it a little bit.
Anybody? You are just gonna.
Somebody who doesn't have like a passport, or yeah.
But then, sorry.
Yeah, someone that basically doesn't have an identity to the country when they arrive.
Okay.
I had the same thought. Yeah, papers, no papers, and yeah, like not documented entry or any kind of documentation. Illegal.
Illegalized.
Someone who is excluded from all the basic rights in the Netherlands because of not having a paper or like an ID here.
Yes. Regarding that, probably someone that can't work officially and then is excluded to jobs that are not gonna consider that, and also have health insurance and all the rights that comes together with that, even having probably a passport in an identity in their own country.
Thank you. Well, if I may, look, most of the times when people ask who's an undocumented person, people focus mainly on the paper issue, but an undocumented person is just a human that is going through a rough time, trying the steps. The asylum systems in many countries are designed in a way to push you away. So I have a lot of documents. I have a book. I can make something into a document right now. But the point is, we didn't ask for this, and I know, of course, none of you, the host countries, asked for this as well. But your actions in the past and the way the world is going has led to where we are today. And I think it's high time we sit and find a solution, because this should not be happening. It's the 21st century, 2023. Lots of technology, lots of exclusion.
Yeah, I think everyone who walks into our office has an identity, and almost everyone who walks into our office has documents. There's only a small part of undocumented migrants in Amsterdam that really cannot prove who they say they are, but actually almost everyone that walks into our office knows who they are, has documents to prove, and has an identity. Like in the systems in Europe, there is fingerprints, biometric data of people that walk into our office. And to give you some numbers, there's the city of Amsterdam does not know exactly how many undocumented migrants there are, but the first estimations are that there are between 30,000 and 60,000 undocumented migrants. And if you ask me, working already for 10 years with this group, I think 60,000 is a small number. So it's a small estimation. So we are talking about maybe 1 out of 12 people in Amsterdam that don't have the legal documents to stay here and get their basic rights granted. But almost every one of them has documents and can prove these documents.
I almost want to rephrase it, that it should be something based on participation.
Yeah.
Instead of saying you're undocumented, are you allowed to participate in our society? Do we allow you to participate?
Almost all people participate in society are actually very active citizens of our city. Most people work, do unvalued, very like domestic work. Our nannies, our cleaners, they take the oil through the city from the snack bars and everything. Jobs that nobody wants to do. Taking care of children everywhere. they're very, very active members of society. Only we tend to not want to see, because we don't want to make policy around them. We tend to not want to know as a city. And I really think this should change.
In that sense, because I'm going to continue with the participation, like the right to participate, not because basically if you are the nanny or the cleaner, you're already participation, but the right that a country that allows you to participate, how does that affect these persons on the financial system? Like, what have you noticed yourself, Mohammed?
A lot of people do participate, but they are not recognized for the benefit that comes with this participation. This include the access to a proper job, the access to a vacation, to a rest, and the fact that people keep running from work to house, because if you don't work, you cannot rent, because you are not eligible for social housing. So people are basically living, working to live, and they don't have any protection in terms of health insurance, access to banking, and many of the other basic needs that are absolutely necessary for you to be part of the 21st century, especially in Europe. Today, if you look, for instance, everything is digital, and everything is linked to having a BSN in the Netherlands. So basically, if you don't have a BSN, you are living under the shadow. And sometimes the unfortunate situations in life forces you to come out, and basically there is nothing to do. And what we try to do is to put more awareness about this, and to hope that policymakers can finally include us in the policies that they make, because the more and more they keep excluding us, the more the loopholes, the tricks and tips that we use to navigate through this system is fading away. And since COVID, it has just been getting worse and worse and worse.
It reminds me actually of the public transportation.
Yes.
And the changes they're currently making as well.
Very disheartening, very sad. I'm sorry, but Ukrainian people came here. In 1 week, everybody was allowed to have a bank, everybody was allowed to have everything. And unfortunately for us, some of us who doesn't have banks, if we want to buy a metro ticket, we have to ask the Dutch person at the station, hey, could you please help me? I don't have a bank. It's very embarrassing. Imagine this to a little child that grew up feeling excluded, not knowing even the reason why, you know? So in the near future, Amsterdam will stop, the GVB will stop with the OV chip cards, I think. Mm-hmm. And what does this mean? We already couldn't use bank. We only use the coins to buy the card. And now if this is not available, which means our commute from one place to another will be cut out. What does this do? There are different possibilities. One, we will try to steal the train, because we have to. Imagine if it is a medical appointment, and if you get arrested there, you're put in detention center, and from detention center, you're possibly going to be deported. And most people leave their countries not only for economic reasons, but because of political reasons. And if you go there, the chances of you being put in prison, you being killed, you disappearing are very, very high. So I'm really, really sorry to say this, but Europe seems to be very smart, but sometimes you guys really, really act dumb. Really, look at the buildings and look at how you treat us. Totally opposite. Beautiful cities, nice lifestyle. We just want a bit of it. Don't be stingy.
I think the public transport is a good example, because like the idea is that in the near future, only with your bank card, you can use public transport in Amsterdam, also, or with an app where the payment is with your bank account, but then online. And we already see so many places in the city where there is only cards, where only cards are used, and where you cannot pay with cash anymore. And for example, a lot of public toilets don't accept coins anymore, so you have to pay 70 cents or €1 to go to the toilet. These are basic human rights, to be able to travel through the city. And there's not only undocumented grown-ups, but there is also minors. There is thousands of minors growing up in Amsterdam not being able to travel through the city and go to school, go to their appointments, go to sports. So when you look at the City Rights app, you see that there's actually a lot of support organizations within the city of Amsterdam, but it's a parallel universe. It's like it's a parallel universe of organizations that organize sports activities, open up their doors for undocumented people. But actually we see that most of the city is closing off, and most of it is because people don't have access to a bank account and a card.
Do you then believe, because we're actually going to a cashless society, I mean, we're almost there.
Definitely. In Amsterdam, definitely. In some European cities, it's much more easy to pay with cash still. If you, for example, go to Italy, I was recently in Napoli. Yeah, there's like at most places you cannot pay with your card. But in Amsterdam, yeah, we're definitely going to a cashless society.
And what do you believe? I do not want to say we should fight against the cashless society or we should support it. Like, I'm quite neutral in my opinion about it.
We should fight it, but at the same time try to make sure that everyone has access to a bank account.
But that's very hard in the Netherlands because of I can't pronounce the English name, but I'll ask you to tell more about it. The Koppelingswet.
Yeah, so it's the Linkage Act. It's actually implemented 25 years ago. In Dutch, it's called Koppelingswet. It's the law that actually links services of the government to your BSN number, to your citizen service number. So actually, all services of the government are linked to these 9 numbers that everyone in the Netherlands, when you're 1 day old, you already get your BSN number, and all the services like you cannot open a bank account without a BSN number, but you cannot also not open have a insurance. Like Mo sometimes says, like you're not even allowed to breathe without a BSN number. But it feels like this when you don't have it. Like everywhere there is a BSN number asked.
But then now, when you register as an undocumented person, I remember you mentioned that somebody had a BSN number, a temporary one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you're in the procedure?
Yes.
When you're in an asylum procedure, which not all undocumented migrants actually are in or have ever been in. But if you are in a procedure and you're living in a shelter over 6 months, you're allowed to register at the municipality and you get a BSN number, and you're also allowed to open up a bank account, but it's only temporary valid as long as you are in the procedure. And if you get rejected, the BSN number loses its value. But sometimes people keep on using their bank card, and as long as there's money on it, they cannot stop the bank account.
So that would be then a small detour.
Yeah, so like
maybe not anymore now.
Like from the undocumented groups, there's different groups. Some people have a bank account, but it's because at a certain point in time they were allowed to open it. But that does not mean that 2 months later or 1 year later they are also allowed to open a bank account. So it's sometimes temporarily that they just fall into the right criteria, and so some people have a bank account.
But then even if you fall in the right criteria, so meaning you have your BSN number and you are registered with an address, you could also fall into a non-criteria because of your migrant background, meaning you can't open your bank account.
Probably, I don't know. But when I got my residency permit, like really excited, couldn't sleep for 3 days of joy. Was really happy going around in Amsterdam with my ID card on my neck. I got it, I did it. Went to Rabobank, like, yo, what's up? I'm here to open a bank account. They started asking me if I have any connection to Cuba or stuff. I asked them, what is the requirement to have a bank account? They said, you need to have a valid ID, here it is. A BSN, here it is. Registered somewhere, here it is. They refused to create a bank account for me. And I am someone that has been sitting in panels like this, going to places, have a lot of support group around me, and they just shut me up, refused me. I asked them, why? Is it because I am a migrant? No. Is it because I'm black? No. Is it because my name is Mohammed? No. Then why? They just couldn't give me any reason why they would open a bank account for me. And imagine, guys, I'm sitting here talking to you while I'm still nervous. There are thousands and thousands of people who cannot speak for themselves. So this happened to me. And this goes in different stages in a migrant's life, right? If you don't have a bank account, sometimes you go to the hospital. They ask you, oh, you need to pay. I only have cash. Sorry, we only use bank. It has happened. Even the day before yesterday, I was talking with Eunice from Migrante about one of the members who was refused and she had to come herself in the middle of the night to pay with her card so that this person could receive care. It is minimized. I mean, a lot of people have been living with these privileges since they were a kid, 1 year old.
Yeah.
1 day, you said, right?
1 day old.
Yeah, 1 day. Because you don't know the value of it, you don't acknowledge maybe its importance. But for us, we have to really, really, really struggle. And I think they call it the Linkage Act for a reason, because they linked all of our sufferings to one thing, the BSN. So
maybe to clear up one thing, if you have a valid ID card from another country or a valid passport, you should be allowed to open a bank account with a BRP registration, so like a official registration with the municipality of Amsterdam or the place where you're residing. And this is actually the one thing that is stopping a lot of undocumented people from opening a bank account. So not having the BSN number, but also not having the BRP registration. That's an official address in the city. Because the Dutch banks, they have this principle of know your customer. And the Dutch banks say not only a valid ID card from what country soever, a valid BSN number, but also a BRP registration is the only way for us to know who you are. So to know our customer. And this is because the banks, there is like very strict laws that banks have to obey to. And it has to do with anti-money laundering. But the Dutch banks make it very, very strict to actually, it's very strict for people. They all have to show a lot of documents in order for banks to trust the customer. So what Mo just said is like, I was there, I had all my documents, and even then, these banks balance out, do I trust this person? And we don't know exactly on what values or on what grounds. They sometimes say yes and one time say no.
But I'm cute, Savannah.
I know.
I have a friendly face. My name on social media is Mr. Nice Guy.
I am not working at a bank.
That's the nicest you can be. I mean, in addition to properly trying to do some proper policy change, it's also very, very important for society, for people, organizations, companies, also to learn, to accept that, yes, people do fall within certain categories, but if the law is being followed, if we have what it takes, then we should not have to go through another IND interview just to have a bank account.
So the KYC and AML laws, those are actually general laws or global laws. Like every bank has to do an assessment of trust of the person who wants to have a bank account there. However, if you go to a bank and they refuse you and they can't answer why, or they might feel uncomfortable answering why, it would be kind of like good to have a reflective point. They could have said, okay, it's your first day, or it's the first 3 days. We still want to wait a couple of months before we let you have a bank account. It's a ridiculous reason, of course, what I'm saying right now, but still. And that kind of like makes it very strange as well, that you can then go to another bank, because I assume you were able to get a bank account.
Yes, I went to ING, my brothers, and in 1 hour I was like, oh, I'm going to get refused. I was so surprised that after just 30 minutes of intake, they told me, we'll post your card. Congratulations. I was like, yeah? I have a, you know how it feels when you download your ING app? It was so beautiful, guys.
So this is
That's how difficult it was.
Yeah, but it's also because he was in COVID times in Amsterdam without a bank account, and I don't know if you all remember, but you could not purchase anything anymore with cash money, and there were no shops open, so we were actually supplying everything for a big group of undocumented people because there was no possibility to even pay with cash at a lot of places, or without a possibility to buy things online. And with buying online, you can only pay with your account.
And it's not even buying the basic rights, because I don't want people to forget it. It's like very minimal things that you actually need access to, like, for example, the healthcare, the train services,
public toilet.
It's the same. It's not like the same thing, because I almost wanted to say that. But like, if you think about the City ID app or a card, sorry, not the app, kind of like think you were focused on the fact that in the Netherlands, we have to ID ourselves if somebody or if the police request it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm against it or for it, but if I look at the position from an undocumented person who doesn't have a proper ID, nor other means kind of like of refuge or of support, which are very basic rights, you kind of like fall into this gap. Not only the financial gap then, but also then a gap of being able to be a victim.
Yeah. So basically, if you are in this gap wherein you're not in any procedure or any shelter that can give you sort of some immunity for a time period, you may probably not be arrested just for sitting somewhere. But if incidentally you find yourself at the wrong moment, there's a protest going on and there is a stop and search, you are in detention. Hopefully if you meet a nice police officer, you never know. Or if you mistakenly cross a red light, or let's say you are biking at night without a proper light. Basically, every step of your life should be properly monitored before you go out, so as not to get yourself in this situation where you probably get arrested. I remember this because even though I was living in the LVV program,
the municipal shelter.
In the municipal shelter that caters for 500 migrants of the 60 or more that is in Amsterdam. I was there and I was having some sort of immunity because every time I would go out, I would vet myself properly. Do I have this? Do I have this? Am I good? Am I smiling enough? And even now that I have my residency permit, I'm afraid because the law says if you ever get yourself into trouble, it can be taken from you. So even if someone tried to be racist against me or someone, tried to mess up with me, I have to flee. I cannot stand up for myself because I'm afraid that when there is their words against mine, I am the person who is going to be most vulnerable. So, yeah.
And not too strength. Like, is it just a internal fear, or have you had experiences or in your network experiences that are similar?
Well, there have been experiences, but I'm a chill guy. Now, this is the importance why we should have a city ID. At least this will protect people from this fear. You don't have to live your entire life being scared, you know? It's like you're somewhere, but you're afraid, you're nervous, it brings health risk. It's not healthy, and we're in this era where we are talking about mental health and stuff. We are just there chilling, waiting. Now, if you look at the city ID, you go to places like the United States, even here, some countries in Europe have tried it, and it's working. And Amsterdam is a very progressive city, and unfortunately, this time they did not try to be pioneers. They did not try to be the first to respond to this. While they did this in the past, and they keep doing it, I mean, what are we doing wrong? These are sometimes questions that I keep asking.
Savannah, do you believe that we haven't implemented yet or gone down that path is because of the koppelingswet, the linkage act?
I think so. I think the Linkage Act, the koppelingswet, is one of the most strict laws there has ever been implemented here in the Netherlands. And also what I think is frightening is that nobody stands up against it, and even not non-governmental organizations. To give an example, all NGOs connected to homeless issues, so they in their core they believe that nobody should be on the street. In their core, it's their mission to help everyone who is on the street. But in practice, all services they obey the koppelingswet and say, if you do not have a BSN number, or a homeless shelter is not for you. And or a warm meal that we serve is not for you. And this is because they get paid by the government. They get big subsidies to do what the government wants. They want to, of course, help homeless people, but they ask to obey the Dutch rules and the Dutch regulations. And I really, more and more in the last years that I've talked to NGOs, I don't understand why everybody is obeying this and thinking this is very strange. We are all human beings. Regardless if you have a BSN number, yes or not, you have the problem that you don't have a bed, or you don't have and actually during COVID it was the first time that the municipality of Amsterdam said, oh no, for us it doesn't matter if you have documents, yes or no. We open up a night shelter for everyone. It was the first time since 25 years that this happened in the Netherlands, and when COVID ended, it was the first thing that got taken away again. So, yeah. So I really think that this is one of the things that makes this makes the exclusion so harsh.
It's almost as if our humanity came back during COVID.
Yeah, and like they fund a lot of organizations supporting undocumented people. Like there is a lot of money from the city going there, but it's a parallel world. Like you are allowed to give legal care or legal assistance, you're allowed to give, but it's with certain criteria to certain undocumented people, and all these NGOs obey the criteria that the country is giving. And I think what Mo said, we live in a very progressive city. Amsterdam is one of the most progressive left-wing cities in Europe, but we have a very right-wing government. And I think it's not going in the right direction if you look at like the governance of the country. And that is what you see actually in the whole of Europe. Like the nation states are getting more xenophobic, more anti-migration, more strict rules, while actually the cities who have the biggest groups of migrants coming from everywhere, finding their way, being active participants in the city, like the city has no possibility to really grant services or arrange it better for the people that are in their cities because of national laws. And I think a city ID card is one of the breaking points where Amsterdam would be able to say, like, I don't care if you don't have a BSN number. I value you as a citizen of the city, and here is at least an Amsterdam service number. And all things that we pay as a city, we open it up for you, like the libraries, all the things that the public transport. It should be allowed and open for all migrants, all people, all human beings that are making this city.
Do you believe through your work with Here to Support, you're slowly are able to kind of like climb this, or more, or at least receive more support to slowly climb this massive mountain?
I think we need big institutions to support. As a small NGO, we cannot open all these borders and barriers that we see. So one of the main goals is to have conversations with institutions in the city, institutions that can open up the way we think about human rights, for example. I think having a bank account is a human right, and I think it's very weird in times of migration that we ask for a BRP registration to open up a bank account, because one day you're here and one day you're in another place. And even within the city of Amsterdam, everybody migrates. So this know your customer idea, for me, it doesn't link to a place of residence.
And if you look at it economic-wise also, there's a lot of benefits that can come to the city. Yes, people work. For instance, the first group of people that I ever saw that said we want to pay taxes are the migrant workers. Nobody says that. I was like, I agree with you, but I'm not on your side on this one. So can you imagine how people could give back to the society, to the Dutch people that have been welcoming? You know, how we, in our own way, can make Amsterdam, more better and things like that. Here to Support, like Savannah said, we are just a small organization, but we are doing a lot of great stuff that even the government is not doing. The information part on the website of the City Council is just one page. Now, in every of these offices where migrants are allowed to go, that is sponsored by the City Council, they use the City Right app. Yet still, they refuse to fund the app as an informative app for Amsterdam. And it's called City Right app Amsterdam. And then the fact that in media also, there is always someone speaking on behalf of a migrant. We have the City Rights Radio, we tell our own stories, and we want to keep doing more and more. Right now we're working on expanding the app to Utrecht to make sure that, yes, we solve the solution for information in Amsterdam. We can also try it in Utrecht. But we need the support of institutions, universities, I don't know what the... Sorry, it's a difficult word for me. So we need these organizations to stand in solidarity with us. Look, there are just some few details that they can change. There are loopholes in every law. That's how lawyers used to battle one another. You can help us, but you just have to have the will, and that will is not there.
You don't believe it's because the numbers are so unknown that people are actually not aware about the masses, or even actually the amount of value that could be transferred due to that group? Because it's an economical power group.
Look,
it's
every hotel, most of the babysitters, many restaurants, these 5-star hotels and stuff that makes Amsterdam this beautiful place that attracts tourism is being cleaned by a migrant worker. That's a lot of value. If all of us, we strike and stop for 1 month, we will do something. But because, again, we don't have the stability to say at least I cannot work for 1 month or 2 months. We can't. So we find ourselves in this stage wherein to survive we have to keep what we're doing, but at the same time we yearn for change. We just need a little bit of support here.
And there's big groups being exploited. I think this is maybe one of the main reasons we should take action, because okay, a bank has to know its customer because of maybe criminal activities, but do people ever think what it is to live without a bank account and how much risk you take if you, for exploitation, if you have to use other people's bank accounts, or you have to be relying on other people with everything in life that you have to do. So pay your bills, buy things online, just the normal things in life. If you don't have access and you cannot have access yourself, you always have to trust on other people around you. And I think the exploitation that is connected to this exclusion is extreme. And I think definitely with the undocumented women, but it's actually for everyone. Very, very tragic stories are that come to my mind now, and I really think that this is, in the economic reasons, okay, we lose a lot of taxes and we lose a lot of with not giving them access to society, but for exploitation, I think it should be one of the main reasons to prevent more exploitation.
From a state-wise point of view, I think the economical reasons should be kind of like on the back end, and we should actually focus on the fact that people are being exploited because of the position we're pushing them in. Like, we've had conversation about this theme before, and we kind of like always end up here at this point, because it's kind of like a interwoven theme where many aspects are not correct. And it's a enormous fight as well in that sense.
One person he's a migrant worker and didn't have a bank account, and he had this, worked and had this like 2,000 euros, had roommates, he could not leave at home, he had the money in his bag, and at some point he was arrested by the police. They saw the amount of cash and was accused of money laundering because he has so much cash. So it's not only like people in society that are having like a house to rent or a job that exploit you. We are indirectly, we fall back to the system itself, and we get punishment just from not being able to get, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. So what I do know is that because we're slowly closing this off, I do know that on the 30th of June, you are going to continue this conversation, especially on the Couplings Act, which I keep on forgetting the English word.
Act.
Thank you.
Because it was that day, exactly 25 years ago, that it was implemented. So we are organizing an evening in Pakhuis de Zwijger. Are we close to here? Close by. And we also, it will be also like more like a conversation evening, where we want to talk about implementation, but also like if we think about 5 years from now, what kind of strategies can we think local opening up of this Linkage Act, for example, a city ID card, or more, who needs to start this conversation with our government that this is happening?
And there's, of course, also a lot of like digital solutions as well are popping up right now, where we can think about, okay, how do we kind of like implement then on a digital plane, I almost want to say digital banks or different types of apps, like, a different type of network. It's a very broad theme in that sense.
There is a lot to do, and we are not sleeping. We are trying really, really hard. We have beautiful people and volunteers from all over the world that comes, and we meet, for instance, with the Amsterdam City Right every Wednesday, every 2 weeks. We meet, we discuss problems and make plans. And that Sunday, there was a huge demonstration from migrants, and it was beautiful. We keep trying to amplify our voices, and we hope that it will be heard. Yeah. But institutions, banks, there's a lot that they can do. The government itself should listen. And it's high time. People are suffering, A lot of people are suffering.
I think this is also a call for action.
Yeah,
so
guys.
After this conversation, we're going to have a little get-together to have a conversation or ask you to give your thoughts, give your resources if you want to, and stay connected with us and see how far we can go.
Well, can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
If you live in Amsterdam, please download the CityRight app in case you meet an undocumented person in the street that needs information. It's CityRight app in iOS or Android. And if you're curious about to learn more, you can listen to CityRight's radio, or if you want to be part of the Amsterdam CityRight family, you're welcome to reach out to us. There's a lot you can do.
So I wanted to thank you all for joining our talk.
Thank you so much for this very, very important conversation and making us aware of this big problem. We also have time for a small Q&A. So any questions from the audience? Yeah.
Hi. I not a question or answer. I just give some story a little bit because I'm the part of the Amsterdam City, right? But I also migrant worker who cleaning the house and every day, and we are live like in the cube. We cannot move everywhere. We can watch everything, and if we leave our money in the house, you're gonna lose. But if we put it in our bag, the police will get us. So many problems there. Also, we want to pay tax. We are already fighting that for 10 years with the government. We told the government we want to pay tax, but the government doesn't want to listen about it. And even then, I talked with a Magruter, and he don't want to listen. So the problem is not only the local, also the national. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for stating that. And is there anybody within the Dutch politics that is doing this work or that is pushing this train forward? Or is there literally no political activity whatsoever on this topic?
The vakbonden, the what's it called?
Unions?
Unions, the trade unions, actually opened up in the last years, like a special department of the trade union for example, domestic workers, and they are doing their best to lobby within the ministry and the policymakers in Den Haag. But I think there is a limited amount of politicians that actually know what's going on. And I think here is where the awareness will start. The awareness needs to start is that there is more places like this where undocumented migrants can speak out, and in a safe way can speak out, because I think that we should not underestimate how courageous it is for example, Faisal to stand up and speak out, because most people are afraid to be detained, to be sent back to their home countries, and this is a very nice way to put it, because people are people are put out of the country. Whole families are being detained in the Netherlands. It's not a nice policy that we are talking about. So I think that it all starts with awareness, and it starts with all of you in the places where you are going in the next weeks. Talk about this issue and sensitize the society that this is really something that I think we can change and we don't do. And I have the idea that left-wing political parties don't dare to open up this discussion because there is already so much, like they don't believe it anymore. Like they can change anything because there is such a big right-wing, xenophobic, anti-migrant sentiments in the political arena that standing up for somebody who does not have documents or the right documents and is illegalized by our country is something that is also very hard for politicians who want it differently. Like they also get hatred and backlash, and so it all starts with that.
I almost feel as if you need to change domains in that sense as well.
Yeah,
Like,
but that's difficult because now, because of this, every time there's an election, migrants become the center, and then media amplifies this, and then we are hated by even the people that could have potentially voted these politicians out because they use this language, breaking news, flocks of migrants, and then people think we are coming over to take everything. Well, we're just cute. Emphasizing on the fact that we are here with a gift of diversity, willing to learn and ready to share. We just want to be. And this means that if you are a registered voter, you can make a change. Your vote counts also.
And any tips on where to put this vote? That is for you to decide.
I think I'm on the list of the government by now. I'm not going to recommend that. Just you follow your heart.
Yeah, do your research on the migrant laws.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you for sharing so much insights to give a feeling of the everyday life of an undocumented person. I wonder, because you say, and this was also my impression until today, that Amsterdam is a really open city with lots of left-wing people, but then why is it so difficult to get solidarity from a majority at least? And if I hear that even NGOs are not like uniting in the idea of, for example, resisting to ask for a social security number, so even there it seems to be there seems to be a lack of solidarity and how to break that up, because if there is no pressure from the people, the parties are not going to tackle the topics, so they need the pressure from the people. But when there is no pressure, and that doesn't seem to be a problem, and the law is 25 years old, so why is it a current problem and not already well-known problem that is tackled?
Good question. Very good question. I would say, so the system in the Netherlands is that the municipalities don't have bodies that do the execution, but they pay NGOs to do the execution of policy. So there is strict criteria where the money that NGOs apply for can go to. And I really think that most NGOs in the city are obeying too much to the criteria that the government is giving, the local government. And I think this is one of the first conversations that we really need to have. And that is not happening at the moment because everyone is quite happy with the millions of euros that go about in the execution of supporting, for example, the homelessness in society. Also, there is a whole system of undocumented organizations that are also getting subsidy from the government, but it's, as I already said, it's a parallel universe. We are also part of it. We get subsidy from the municipality of Amsterdam, but I actually feel for supporting undocumented people, but it's this parallel universe that we are connected to and not making it worse. So it feels good, but it's at the same time it's a fucked up system that we are in. So I think this is the start. I think I really want to start this conversation with other NGOs in the city. And you see slowly, like the library, for example, that says now, oh, undocumented children under 23, young people, they can have a library card. So like slowly at places there is an awareness of, this is actually very wrong what we do. But then all the undocumented people that are over 23, does it stop? Does your it's very weird that we all the time have these boundaries set up, and yeah, it's up to us, and I really feel it as a mission to open up this conversation more and more.
Yeah, thank you. I think there was another question.
Yeah, I was more related to the banking or the financial system, let's say, because with all this new revolution of the new digital era and creating digital banking, do you think that is making it easier for undocumented people, or just to get like a bank account, or we're just recreating the same thing but just in a digital form, like more easily?
So let me think, because I almost want to give an example. If I think about the digital banks that are operating currently in the Netherlands, I remember I needed a bank account for something, and then I'm half Ugandan, and they asked me, are you going to do something with Uganda? And I very honestly said yes, because I sent money back home. And then my bank account got not accepted. Yeah. And they were like, you will be put on a list, and you have to wait. And I waited for half a year. So I don't believe with the KYC and AML rules that there will still be restrictions. In the end, that does not mean that you can't fight against it. Like, I very much understand those laws and why they're in place. Like, I would imagine, but it's more like my dream, is, for example, to have how do you say it? What I would almost call, I don't like to say undocumented bank, but I would almost say, well, why can't they come together and create something like that? And then they will still have to apply to the KYC and AML laws, but then at least there's something created for them. But of course, you need to have people around you and the money to build these types of things. But that's more dreaming and envisioning.
We have another question over here.
Yeah, thank you for the talk. Connecting also your question with your comment now, it came to my mind a talk that I watched recently in one edition of the TEDx Amsterdam that was about looking to how blockchain could help in this sense, and talking about cases of migrants that were got in detention, and then it is a context that everything that you have, like the money in that is in cash, is not with you, so you don't have any resource anymore. But then it was a story of someone saying that the person could, for instance, buy a pizza because he had like a digital currency that was not related to the political laws. So do you know any like connections or possibilities that could work in this scenario for Amsterdam in this sense? Yes.
I think
or is too far still? I
think alternative currencies are something that we looked into like maybe 8 years ago, and we did a big research too. Still, the difficulty is that if you want to pay somebody who's undocumented, it's allowed to give somebody anything, but it's not allowed to ask to give something in and expect something in return. So even if I would pay the undocumented people, I'm a director of an organization, if I would pay undocumented people for working for me with an alternative currency or with any other currency that we can think of, I will be seen as an employer, and even volunteer work is not allowed for undocumented officially. Huh? So the fine of being an employer of an undocumented person is 8,000 euros per moment that they know that you have been not obeying the rules. Yeah. Yes. So, and actually these fines are given like a lot daily. Also in Amsterdam, all the restaurants, all the hotels, they get like searches every day. So it's not a joke. So as long as we don't connect this to being able to pay somebody with an alternative currency or with some, it's very hard.
Yeah, and during the whole talk, I was also coming back to what we heard in the previous talk about how we need to bring ourselves back to the conversation, because we can have the technological solution, the imaginable, but if we don't have the look to how politically and socially we are inserted in the city, we are gonna keep having this kind of questions, right?
But I think it's definitely connected to all the digital technologies that are being thought of and implemented. For example, a digital identification through a wallet on your phone. At the moment, everyone has to use DigiD or any other like digital identification model. Nobody thought of a model that is not connected to a BSN number, because everyone is so used to having this BSN number. So this is where the conversations with people that are that want to think broader, and like I would welcome everyone to join our conversation, because I think, for example, with biometrics, take biometric data, or with like using also other forms of identification, I would definitely encourage this, because it can open up the conversation, like what are we actually doing? Who are we actually excluding?
Yeah, that was our time, unfortunately. Thank you so much. Give it up one more time for Lawi, Havana, and Mohammed. And like you guys said, let's keep the conversation going, so definitely find them. And if there's anything you would like to know or contribute, make sure you do that. And for now, this wraps up the program here at the main stage for today, our Dialogues and Debates program. Thank you so much for joining, and thanks for contributing. There is one more delightful session happening over here at 5 p.m. with Toshi Regan and the Big Lovely Band. And they are all inviting you to come and sing together. And don't be scared, because it's not like a performative singing. It's really about connecting to each other and using our voices. And yeah. So it's gonna be really good. So definitely come back for that. And if not, then I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, everybody.